The transport shuttle approached Haven Prime with deliberate slowness, following every traffic protocol to the letter. Inside the cramped passenger compartment, Admiral Rebecca Stone adjusted her simple gray uniform and checked her notes one final time. The papers contained humanity's official response to the Galactic Council's concerns, a response carefully crafted to sound apologetic and submissive. Through the small porthole, she watched the massive orbital station grow larger. Haven Prime represented everything humanity was supposedly not: ancient, stable, and built through centuries of careful cooperation. The station's crystalline spires reflected light from 3 different suns, creating rainbow patterns that danced across its metallic hull. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species moved around it in perfect order, each one following routes established long before humans had discovered fire. Rebecca's earpiece crackled softly. "Shepard 1, this is Control. All elements report ready." She touched the device once to acknowledge, then removed it entirely. From now on, she would be completely isolated from Earth's real plans. If the aliens had technology to read her thoughts, or detect lies, they would find nothing but genuine ignorance about humanity's true capabilities. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Rebecca gathered her small delegation. 3 junior diplomats who truly believed they were here to negotiate humanity's surrender to galactic authority. Their nervous energy and genuine fear would help sell the performance. Haven Prime's interior was even more impressive than its exterior. The main corridor stretched for kilometers, with moving walkways carrying beings of every imaginable shape and size. Tall, elegant creatures with too many joints glided past squat, heavily armored beings who looked like living rocks. Gaseous entities floated in specialized containers, while energy beings flickered between different colored spectrums. Rebecca felt genuinely small among them, which was exactly the feeling she needed to project. A Vorthak escort waited at the diplomatic entrance. The reptilian being stood nearly 3 meters tall, its scales shifting from green to deep purple as it spoke. "Human delegation, you will follow designated path. No deviation permitted." Rebecca nodded politely. "Of course, we appreciate the Council's willingness to hear our response." The escort's eyes, 6 of them arranged around its elongated skull, focused on her with obvious contempt. "Response is generous term. Council expects compliance." They walked through corridors filled with artwork and technology from civilizations that had mastered space travel when Earth was still cooling from its formation. Every display seemed designed to emphasize the vast gulf between humanity and the established galactic powers. Ancient star maps showed trade routes that had operated for millions of years. Museum pieces demonstrated technologies that humans had only theorized about. The council chamber itself took Rebecca's breath away. The spherical room was enormous, with seating arranged in concentric rings that rose toward the ceiling. Each seat was designed for a different species, with life support systems tailored to their specific needs. At the center floated a projection system that could display anything from molecular structures to galactic star charts. Today, it showed human space, 17 colonies connected by thin lines representing shipping routes. Compared to the vast networks of other species, humanity's presence looked pathetically small. Rebecca took her assigned seat in the lowest ring, the position reserved for species under council review. Around her, hundreds of beings representing the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy looked down with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. Council Prime Keeper Orvain activated the central projector with a gesture from one of his 4 arms. His species, the Corvani, had been spacefaring for over 2 million years. Their technology was so advanced that other species often mistook it for magic. "Human delegation," Orvain's voice echoed through the chamber without need for amplification. "Your species has expanded to 17 worlds in less than 2 centuries. This rate of growth disturbs the Council. Younger species often lack wisdom to use power responsibly. Rebecca stood slowly. Prime Keeper, we understand the Council's concerns. Humanity is indeed young by galactic standards. We have much to learn. A ripple of satisfied murmurs passed through the chamber. The ethereals, crystalline beings who communicated through harmonic vibrations, chimed their approval. The Vorthak delegation shifted their scales to brighter colors, indicating pleasure at humanity's apparent submission. Human expansion follows pattern Council has observed before, continued a delegate from the Zenith Collective, a hive-mind species that spoke in perfect unison. Rapid growth leads to resource conflicts. Resource conflicts lead to wars. Wars threaten galactic stability. Rebecca felt genuine shame wash over her, which was perfect for her performance. We never intended to threaten anyone. We were simply excited to explore, to find our place among the stars. Place is determined by wisdom, not enthusiasm, declared the ethereal representative, its crystalline form pulsing with soft blue light. Council proposes restrictions for your species' own good. Human expansion will be limited to current systems. All colonies will accept monitoring stations. Trade will occur only through approved channels. The terms were exactly what Earth's strategists had predicted. Humanity would be contained, monitored, and gradually isolated from galactic affairs. Other species had accepted similar restrictions and slowly faded into insignificance, becoming little more than curiosities in galactic databases. Rebecca looked around the chamber, letting her genuine emotions show on her face, the hurt of being judged, the frustration of being misunderstood, the fear of humanity's future. We accept the Council's wisdom, she said quietly. We ask only that our people be allowed to continue existing peacefully. Prime Keeper Orvane's bioluminescent patches glowed brighter, indicating satisfaction. Council appreciates human cooperation. Implementation begins immediately. Monitoring stations will be established within 1 standard year. As the session concluded and beings began filing out, Rebecca remained in her seat for several minutes. She wanted them to see her sitting alone, looking small and defeated. Several delegates paused to observe the human representative, some with sympathy, others with satisfaction at another potential threat neutralized. Finally, Rebecca stood and walked slowly toward the exit. Her genuine exhaustion from the performance made her appear even more defeated than she had planned. The Vorthak escort followed her with obvious pleasure, occasionally making comments to other security personnel about the broken human female. Back on her shuttle, surrounded by her genuinely dejected diplomatic team, Rebecca allowed herself one small smile. The performance had been perfect. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had looked at humanity and seen exactly what they expected to see: a young, aggressive species that could be easily controlled through superior technology and political pressure. What they had not seen was the small device hidden in Rebecca's uniform button, which had recorded every word, every gesture, and every reaction in the council chamber. They had not detected the quantum entanglement communicator woven into her hair, which had transmitted key information back to Earth throughout the proceedings. Most importantly, they had not realized that humanity's apparent defeat was actually the beginning of their greatest victory. The galaxy had just given humanity exactly what they needed: the freedom to operate without scrutiny, dismissed as a contained and harmless species. As the shuttle departed Haven Prime, Rebecca touched her earpiece once more. Control, this is Shepard 1. Package delivered. Beginning Phase 2. The response came immediately. Acknowledged, Shepard 1. Welcome home. The real work begins now. 15 years had passed since the Council's restrictions took effect, and David Mills looked like any other farmer working the rich soil of New Harmony. His weathered hands guided the harvesting machinery through rows of golden grain, while his eyes scanned the horizon for the daily patrol. The Vorthak monitoring station sat on a hill 3 kilometers away, its silver dome gleaming in the afternoon sun. David wiped sweat from his forehead and checked his watch. Right on schedule, a patrol craft lifted off from the monitoring station and began its predictable circuit of the human settlements. The aliens had been following the same routine for over a decade, their confidence in humanity's compliance growing stronger each year. What the patrol could not see were the modifications, hidden beneath David's seemingly ordinary farm equipment. The irrigation pumps contained sensors capable of detecting spacecraft movements from 3 star systems away. The grain storage silos housed communication arrays that could reach ships at the edge of human space. Even the simple weather monitoring station secretly tracked every electromagnetic signature within a 50-light-year radius. After the patrol disappeared behind the eastern mountains, David activated his real work for the day. A hidden panel in his barn revealed a staircase leading deep underground. The subterranean facility beneath his farm stretched for kilometers, its corridors humming with quiet activity. Dr. Helen Park looked up from her workstation as David entered. The main laboratory. Morning readings show increased traffic in the Centauri sector, she reported. 3 heavy cruisers and what looks like a supply convoy. David nodded, studying the holographic display floating above Helen's console. The image showed ship movements across human space and beyond, tracked by sensors hidden on every human world. After 15 years of careful observation, they had built the most comprehensive intelligence network in the galaxy. Any change in the patrol patterns? He asked. None. They're still following the same routes they established 12 years ago. Helen's expression showed the mixture of satisfaction and concern that had become common among the hidden human operatives. They really believe we've given up. David smiled grimly. That belief was exactly what humanity had worked so hard to create. Every human colony appeared to be exactly what the Council expected: small agricultural or mining settlements focused on internal development. The monitoring stations detected no unusual technology, no signs of military buildup, no evidence of expansion beyond the permitted zones. The truth was far different. Beneath New Harmony and 47 other human worlds, vast construction projects had been underway for over a decade. What appeared to be simple mining operations were actually manufacturing facilities producing technologies that did not exist in any galactic database. Agricultural storage facilities concealed shipyards where vessels were built in complete secrecy. David walked through the underground complex, observing the controlled chaos of humanity's true expansion. In one section, engineers worked on propulsion, systems based on principles discovered in ancient alien ruins that officially did not exist because Dr. Emma Wells had never reported finding them. In another area, xenobiologists studied tissue samples from dozens of galactic species, not for weapons research, but to understand potential vulnerabilities that might be exploited against humanity. The heart of the facility was the Strategic Planning Center, where analysts pieced together intelligence from across human space. The holographic map displayed here showed the galaxy as humanity truly understood it, not the simplified version presented to species under Council oversight, but the complex network of alliances, trade routes, and power relationships that actually governed galactic politics. Commander Lisa Torres looked up as David approached her station. "We've got movement in the outer systems," she reported. Dr. Wells's team has established 17 new survey stations in the past month. David studied the tactical display. Each survey station appeared to be a simple scientific outpost studying uninhabited worlds beyond human space. The Council had approved these expeditions as part of humanity's permitted research activities. What the Council did not know was that each station was actually a supply depot and communication relay for humanity's real expansion. Dr. Emma Wells had become humanity's most valuable asset without the galaxy realizing it. Her reputation as a thorough but unremarkable xenoarchaeologist allowed her to travel freely throughout unexplored regions. Her published papers described routine surveys of dead worlds and ancient ruins of no particular significance. Her actual discoveries were far more important. Every world Wells visited received a carefully disguised probe that would spend years building hidden infrastructure. Some probes established underground bases stocked with supplies and equipment. Others created manufacturing facilities that produced everything from weapons to spacecraft. The most important ones built quantum communication arrays that would allow instant contact across hundreds of light years. The genius of the operation was its patience. Humanity could have revealed their true capabilities years ago, but Earth's leadership understood that premature action would only invite a coordinated response from the established galactic powers. Instead, they had chosen to wait, to build, and to prepare for the day when hiding would no longer be possible. That day was approaching faster than anyone had expected. David moved to the Intelligence Center, where intercepted communications from across the galaxy were analyzed and decoded. Most of the traffic was routine: trade negotiations, diplomatic messages, scientific data. But recently, patterns had emerged that suggested something much more sinister. Analyst Michael Rodriguez looked up from his console with obvious concern. "We're seeing increased coordination between the major council powers," he reported. "The Vorthak, Ethereals, and Corvani have been exchanging encrypted messages at unprecedented levels. We can't break the encryption, but the timing suggests they're planning something significant." David felt a chill run through him. For 15 years, humanity had operated under the assumption that they were simply being contained and monitored. The possibility that the Council might have more permanent solutions in mind had always existed, but the evidence was becoming harder to ignore. "What about the other restricted species?" he asked. "That's what worries me most," Michael replied. "Similar communication patterns are occurring around the Lumari homeworld, the Takari systems, and at least 6 other species that have been placed under Council oversight in the past century." The implications were staggering. If the Council was coordinating actions against multiple species simultaneously, it suggested a level of planning and organization that went far beyond simple containment policies. David opened a secure communication channel to Earth's command center. The quantum entanglement communicator established an instantaneous connection that could not be detected or intercepted by any known technology. "Control, this is Harvest Station. We need to accelerate the timeline. Something big is coming." The response came immediately. "Understood, Harvest Station. Dr. Wells has reported similar concerns from her position. All survey teams are being recalled to their secondary positions." David closed the channel and looked around the bustling facility. Hundreds of humans worked tirelessly to prepare for a conflict they hoped would never come. But hope was not a strategy, and humanity had learned long ago that the galaxy was not a friendly place for young, ambitious species. The monitoring station on the hill above continued its routine observations, recording crop yields and population data that suggested humanity had accepted their place as a minor contained civilization. The Vorthak operators would file their reports noting continued compliance with Council restrictions. They would not report the increasing number of meteors that had been impacting uninhabited worlds throughout the sector. They would not investigate the slight changes in electromagnetic background radiation that indicated massive construction projects on worlds they had never bothered to survey. Most importantly, they would not realize that humanity had spent 15 years preparing for the day when their true nature would be revealed. That day was coming soon, and when it arrived, the galaxy would discover that Earth had never been as powerless as it appeared. The research vessel Endeavour drifted silently through the asteroid field at the edge of human space, its hull scarred and patched from 15 years of supposed scientific missions. Captain Luis Rivera floated in the ship's cramped observation deck, watching the stars through reinforced viewports while his crew conducted their daily maintenance routines. To any observer, they looked like dedicated researchers pushing the boundaries of human knowledge within the Council's approved limitations. The reality was far different. Hidden beneath false panels and disguised as scientific equipment, the Endeavour carried some of humanity's most advanced surveillance technology. Their official mission was to study mineral compositions in lifeless asteroid fields. Their actual purpose was to monitor deep space communications from the galactic core regions, where the Council's most powerful species maintained their primary worlds. Communications specialist Ann Cooper looked up from her console with an expression that made Luis's stomach tighten. "Captain, you need to hear this. We've intercepted something from the Corvani home system." Luis pushed himself across the zero-gravity compartment to Ann's workstation. The quantum intercept system they had been using could capture and decode transmissions that traveled faster than light through folded space. Most of the traffic they monitored was routine administrative communications. This transmission was different. "It's heavily encrypted," Anne explained, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. "But the quantum signature suggests it originated from the Council's highest security networks. I managed to break about 60% of it." She activated the playback. The decoded sections came through clearly, while encrypted portions appeared as static bursts. What Luis heard made his blood run cold. "If final cleansing protocols approved by unanimous vote. Phase 1 implementation begins in static. Target species identified as follows: human territories, Lumari systems, Takari Confederation, static. Biological agents tested and confirmed effective. Deployment timeline." Luis gripped the console's edge, his knuckles white. "How much more can you decode?" "Give me 6 hours and I might be able to break another 20%, Anne replied. "But, Captain, there's something else. This isn't the only transmission. We've been intercepting fragments of similar messages for the past 3 days. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Luis activated the ship's internal communication system. "All senior staff to the briefing room, priority 1. Within minutes, the Endeavour's 5-person senior staff had gathered in the cramped space that served as their conference room. Chief Science Officer Alex Rodriguez looked worried, while Engineer Patricia Wong maintained her usual calm expression despite the obvious tension. Luis played the intercepted transmission, watching his crew's faces change as they absorbed the implications. When the recording ended, the room fell silent for long moments. "Biological agents," Alex said finally. "They're talking about plague weapons." "Against how many species?" asked Patricia. Anne consulted her notes. "From the fragments we've decoded, at least 12. Possibly more. The Lumari are definitely on the list, along with the Takari and several others we've had minimal contact with." Luis felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders like a physical burden. For 15 years, humanity had operated under the assumption that the Council viewed them as a contained threat, troublesome but manageable. The possibility that they were planning genocide had been discussed in strategic planning sessions, but it had seemed unlikely given the effort required to coordinate such an operation. "Alex, what do you know about Council biological warfare capabilities?" Luis asked. The science officer consulted his personal database. "Not much from official sources, but we've heard rumors from some of the older species about cleansing operations. In the past, species that became too advanced or too aggressive sometimes just disappeared. Their worlds would be found empty with no signs of struggle or evacuation." "How would they target specific species?" Patricia asked. "Genetic targeting would be the most efficient method," Alex replied. "Every time we've had diplomatic contact with other species, there have been medical examinations, atmospheric sampling, food exchanges. They would have had plenty of opportunities to collect biological samples." Luis remembered the mandatory health screenings that had been required for all human diplomats visiting Council facilities. At the time, it had seemed like reasonable precaution against cross-species contamination. Now it took on a much more sinister meaning. "Anne, how much time do we have according to the transmissions?" The deployment timeline was in one of the encrypted sections, but from context clues, I'd estimate less than 6 months, possibly as little as 3. Luis made his decision. Change course for the Kepler system. Maximum speed. Captain, that will take us outside our approved research zone, Patricia warned. We're way beyond worrying about council approvals now, Luis replied. If they're planning to exterminate us, staying within the rules won't help. The Endeavor's engines, much more powerful than their official specifications suggested, pushed the ship toward the coordinates Luis had entered. The Kepler system contained one of Dr. Emma Wells' archaeological survey stations, but more importantly, it housed a quantum communication array that could reach Earth instantly. During the 3-day journey, Anne worked around the clock to decode more of the intercepted transmissions. Each breakthrough revealed additional horrors. The biological weapons weren't designed for quick death. They were engineered to cause slow, agonizing decline that would demoralize the target populations. The timing was carefully planned to hit multiple species simultaneously, preventing them from warning each other or coordinating defenses. Most chilling of all was the discovery that this wasn't the first time such an operation had been conducted. References to previous cleansing cycles suggested that the galaxy's current political structure had been maintained through periodic extermination of species that showed too much potential for growth or independence. When they reached the Kepler system, Luis immediately activated the hidden communication array. The quantum signal reached Earth's command center in seconds, carrying the intercepted data and Luis's urgent report. Earth's response came within hours, transmitted through the same secure channel. Endeavor, this is command. Data received and confirmed through multiple sources. Dr. Wells has reported similar intelligence from other locations. Phase 3 is authorized. Return to Waypoint 7 immediately. Luis felt relief wash through him. Phase 3 meant that humanity's hidden preparations were being activated. After 15 years of patient building and careful planning, Earth was finally ready to reveal its true capabilities. But as the Endeavor changed course for Waypoint 7, Luis couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Council had spent centuries perfecting their system of galactic control through fear and elimination of threats. They had vast resources, ancient technology, and the advantage of experience. Humanity's only advantages were surprise, desperation, and 15 years of careful preparation that the galaxy had never suspected. Luis hoped it would be enough. As the stars streaked past the Endeavor's viewports, Luis thought about the millions of humans living peacefully on their restricted worlds, unaware that their entire species had been marked for extinction. He thought about the Lumari, whose only crime was developing faster-than-light communication 50 years ahead of Council projections. He thought about the Tekari, who had dared to question Council policies regarding resource allocation. All of them would die unless humanity could do something that had never been done before in galactic history: successfully resist the Council's final solution to the problem of ambitious younger species. The silence that had protected humanity for 15 years was about to break, and when it did, the galaxy would discover whether Earth had truly been acting powerless or simply waiting for the right moment to show its strength. Deep beneath Luna City, in a command center that officially did not exist, Supreme Commander Rebecca Stone watched as humanity's true nature revealed itself across 300 star systems simultaneously. The walls displayed tactical data streams from hidden bases that had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. After decades of appearing weak and contained, humanity was about to demonstrate what they had really been building in the shadows. "All Shepard units report ready," announced Operations Director Marcus Webb from his station. "Fleet elements are in position across 80 systems. The Council monitoring stations remain unaware." Rebecca nodded, her calm exterior hiding the weight of what was about to begin. In the next 6 hours, humanity would either secure their survival and the survival of 11 other species, or they would reveal their true capabilities only to be crushed by the combined might of the galactic establishment. There would be no middle ground. "Commander Taylor, status on the primary targets?" Beth Taylor, now commanding humanity's most elite strike force, appeared on the central hologram. Her team was positioned near a Vorthak bioweapon facility in the Outer Rim Territories, one of 12 production centers that humanity had identified as key to the Council's genocide plan. Target confirmed, Supreme Commander. Security is minimal. They never expected anyone to find this place, let alone attack it. We can begin on your signal. Rebecca looked around the command center one final time. Every station was manned by officers who had spent years preparing for this operation while maintaining the pretense that humanity had accepted their limitations. The irony was not lost on her that their greatest weapon had been the Council's own certainty that they understood and controlled the situation. All units, this is Supreme Commander Stone. Operation Shepherd is authorized. Execute Phase 4. Across the galaxy, humanity's hidden assets activated simultaneously. On the agricultural world of New Harmony, David Mills' farm split open like a mechanical flower. Underground hangar doors that had been disguised as irrigation channels revealed sleek warships that bore no resemblance to anything in humanity's official fleet registry. Similar reveals occurred on 46 other human worlds as the true scope of their military buildup became visible for the first time. Dr. Emma Wells, conducting a supposedly routine survey of an uninhabited system, activated the quantum beacon, hidden in her research equipment. Within minutes, the empty system filled with human vessels that had been waiting in stealth mode for over 3 years. Her archaeological survey had been cover for establishing forward operating bases throughout unexplored space. Commander Taylor's strike force hit the Vorthak facility with precision that caught the alien defenders completely unprepared. The base's shields, designed to repel conventional weapons, proved useless against human technology derived from xenoarchaeological discoveries that had never been reported to the Council. Within 12 minutes, the facility was completely destroyed, its plague production capabilities eliminated. 11 similar strikes occurred simultaneously across the galaxy. Each target had been carefully selected based on intelligence gathered. Over 15 years of patient observation, the Council's biological warfare program, designed to eliminate 12 species quietly and efficiently, ceased to exist in less than an hour. But Rebecca knew that destroying the weapons was only the first step. The real challenge lay in what came next. Supreme Commander, announced Communications Director Sarah Kim, we're receiving emergency transmissions from Council facilities across the galaxy. They know they're under attack, but they don't know by whom. Any response from the home systems? Rebecca asked. The Vorthak High Command is mobilizing their battle fleets. The Ethereal Collective is attempting to trace the attack signatures. The Corvani have activated their planetary defense systems. Rebecca smiled grimly. The Council's response was exactly what humanity's strategists had predicted. After centuries of dealing with species that followed predictable patterns of behavior, they were encountering something completely outside their experience. Phase 5 is authorized, she announced. The holographic display changed to show the Nexus, the ancient communication array that served as the nerve center of galactic civilization. Built by a species that had vanished millions of years ago, the Nexus connected every major world and served as the backbone for trade, diplomacy, and military coordination across the galaxy. Control of the Nexus meant control of the galaxy's ability to function as a unified entity. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the assault fleet approaching the Nexus, appeared on the communication screen. Supreme Commander, the defense fleet is taking position. 300 vessels of various Council species arranged in standard defensive formations. Do they recognize your ships? Rebecca asked. Negative. Our hull configurations don't match anything in their databases. They're treating us as unknown hostiles, which means they haven't connected our attack to humanity yet. Rebecca felt a moment of satisfaction. Even now, facing human technology that far exceeded anything they had expected, The Council forces could not believe that the contained, monitored species they had dismissed for 15 years could be responsible for such a coordinated assault. Engage the defense fleet, Captain. Show them what humanity has learned. The battle of the Nexus lasted only 4 hours, but it changed everything. The Council's defenders, equipped with technology refined over millions of years of galactic dominance, found themselves overwhelmed by human adaptability and innovation. Where alien tactics relied on proven methods and established procedures, human commanders improvised and adapted in real time. The human fleet used weapons and defenses that simply did not exist in any galactic database. Shields that bent incoming, fire back at attackers, projectiles that phased through conventional defenses before solidifying inside enemy hulls, fighter craft that could operate equally well in space or planetary atmospheres. Most devastatingly, the human forces demonstrated a level of coordination and tactical flexibility that the rigid command structures of the Council species could not match. When traditional formations failed, human squadrons reformed into new configurations within minutes. When established weapons proved ineffective, they switched to alternatives that their opponents had never encountered. By the time the Council forces realized they were facing humanity rather than some unknown galactic threat, it was too late. The Nexus was under human control, and with it, the galaxy's primary communication and coordination systems. Rebecca activated the Galactic Broadcast System, her image appearing simultaneously on every world connected to the Nexus network. For most species, this was the first time they had ever seen a human address the galaxy directly. "I am Supreme Commander Rebecca Stone of the Human Defense Forces," she began, her voice carrying across thousands of light years. 15 years ago, your council decided that humanity posed a threat to galactic stability. They were correct. The transmission continued with evidence of the planned genocide, intercepted communications, destroyed biological weapons facilities, and detailed documentation of previous cleansing operations conducted against species that had dared to develop too quickly or question council authority. The Lumari face extinction because they developed faster-than-light communication ahead of schedule. The Takari are marked for death because they questioned resource allocation policies. 11 other species have been condemned simply for showing potential. Rebecca paused, letting the implications sink in across millions of worlds. This ends now. Humanity claims protection over all species threatened by Council policies. Any attempt to proceed with the planned exterminations will be met with force. The response was immediate and chaotic. On some worlds, populations that had lived in fear of their council representatives for generations began demanding answers. On others, government officials who had been unaware of the genocide plans scrambled to distance themselves from the conspiracy. The galaxy's carefully maintained order, built on fear and control, began to crumble as species realized that resistance was possible. In her command center beneath Luna City, Rebecca watched the tactical displays as humanity's true fleet revealed itself across the galaxy. Over 3,000 vessels, built in secret over 15 years, took position around key council worlds and strategic installations. The silence that had hidden humanity's preparations was finally broken. Now the galaxy would discover whether their calculated gamble had been worth 15 years of patient waiting and careful preparation. 3 months after the Battle of the Nexus, the galaxy looked completely different from the sterile halls of Haven Prime. The ancient orbital station that had once symbolized unchanging galactic order now hosted an emergency assembly unlike any in its history. Representatives from over 200 species filled the chamber, many of them from civilizations that had never before been allowed to participate in galactic governance. Admiral Rebecca Stone walked through corridors that had been redesigned to accommodate species previously deemed too insignificant for council consideration. Where once only the established powers had held voice and vote, now beings of every size and technological level gathered to rebuild civilization from its foundations. The transformation had not been bloodless. 7 council worlds had fallen to internal revolutions when evidence of the genocide plan reached their populations. The Vorthak military command had attempted a counterattack against human positions, only to discover that humanity's defensive capabilities were even more advanced than their offensive ones. The ethereal collective had simply vanished from their crystal cities, leaving behind only harmonic echoes that suggested they had retreated to dimensional spaces beyond current understanding. But for every species that had resisted the change, 3 others had embraced the possibility of freedom from the fear that had governed galactic politics for millions of years. Rebecca entered the main assembly hall, now reconfigured with seating arranged in democratic circles rather than hierarchical tiers. At the center, where the projection system had once displayed maps of controlled territories, a new hologram showed something the galaxy had never seen before: a network of voluntary alliances and mutual defense agreements. Delegate Tara Chen, of the Lumari, approached Rebecca with the graceful movements characteristic of her species. The Lumari's rescue from planned extinction had made them humanity's strongest supporters, but their gratitude was tempered by genuine friendship that had developed during the Reconstruction period. "Admiral Stone," Tara said, her melodic voice carrying the harmonic undertones that made Lumari communications so distinctive, "the integration protocols are proceeding ahead of schedule. 17 species have requested inclusion in the Defense Alliance." Rebecca smiled genuinely. The Alliance had grown far beyond humanity's original plans. What had begun as a desperate attempt to prevent genocide had evolved into something unprecedented, a truly cooperative galactic civilization based on mutual benefit rather than dominance and control. "Any resistance from the remaining council loyalists?" Rebecca asked. "The Corvani delegation continues to argue for restoration of the old system," Tara replied. "But their support base shrinks daily. Even their own colonies are questioning the wisdom of the genocide plan." Rebecca nodded. The revelation that the Council's power had been maintained through periodic extermination of promising species had shocked even those who had benefited from the system. Archaeological teams from multiple species had begun investigating historical disappearances, uncovering evidence of at least 8 previous cleansing operations over the past million years. Dr. Emma Wells approached from the archaeological section, her arms full of data tablets containing discoveries that were rewriting galactic history. Her teams had found evidence that dozens of species with advanced potential had simply vanished at moments when they might have challenged the established order. "Rebecca, you need to see this," Emma said, activating one of her tablets. "We've found records from the Builders, the species that created the Nexus. They weren't extinct. They were the first victims of a council cleansing operation." The implications were staggering. The technology that the council had used to maintain galactic order had originally belonged to their first victims. The entire structure of galactic civilization had been built on foundation of systematic murder and technological theft. Commander Beth Taylor joined their group, her expression showing the satisfaction of someone whose strategic instincts had been proven correct. "The integration process is working better than we hoped," she reported. "Species that have been isolated for centuries are sharing technology and resources freely. Innovation rates are increasing exponentially." Rebecca looked around the assembly hall, watching beings who had never been allowed to speak freely, engaging in animated discussions about trade agreements, research partnerships, and joint exploration missions. The contrast with the sterile hierarchy of the old council was remarkable. A techary engineer was explaining faster-than-light manufacturing techniques to a group of species who had been denied access to such technology for generations. Near the scientific section, researchers from 12 different civilizations were collaborating on projects that would have been impossible under the old system's rigid territorial restrictions. Most importantly, the fear that had dominated Galactic civilization for millions of years was being replaced by genuine cooperation. "Admiral Stone," announced a voice from the central podium. Prime Minister Alex Santos of the Human Colonial Administration was calling the assembly to order. The fact that a human was serving as the assembly's facilitator would have been unthinkable just months earlier. Rebecca took her seat among the human delegation, but not in the position of prominence that might have been expected. Humanity had deliberately chosen not to assume leadership of the new galactic order, understanding that their survival depended on creating a system where no single species could dominate others. "Fellow beings," Alex began, his words automatically translated into hundreds of languages. "Today we vote on the final articles of the Galactic Compact. This document will govern our interactions for generations to come." The Compact was unlike any governing document in galactic history. Instead of establishing hierarchies and territories, it created frameworks for cooperation and mutual protection. Species were free to develop at their own pace without fear of being deemed threats. Technology sharing was encouraged rather than restricted. Most importantly, any attempt by one group to dominate others would trigger automatic intervention by the collective defense forces. Delegate Terra stood to address the assembly. "The Lumari people wish to formally thank humanity for their courage in revealing the truth," she said. "But we also wish to thank them for something more important, for showing us that cooperation is stronger than control." A wave of harmonic agreement swept through the chamber as dozens of species voiced their support. The Takari delegation chimed their crystal harmonics. The insectoid hive minds synchronized their clicking languages. Even some of the former council species had begun to see the benefits of the new system. Rebecca felt a moment of profound satisfaction as she watched the vote proceed. Article by article, the Assembly approved measures that would have been impossible under the old order. Open borders for peaceful species, shared research initiatives, protection for developing civilizations. Most importantly, binding agreements that no species would be punished for advancement or innovation. Dr. Wells approached the podium when called to present the Historical Evidence Committee's findings. "We have confirmed that 23 species were eliminated over the past 2 million years," she announced. Each one showed characteristics that the Council deemed threatening: rapid technological development, questioning of authority, or simple refusal to accept subordinate status. The chamber fell silent as the full scope of the genocide became clear. What had seemed like natural evolution of galactic civilization had actually been carefully managed extinction campaigns designed to prevent any challenge to established power structures. The builder species created the Nexus as a tool for universal communication and cooperation, Emma continued. The Council perverted it into an instrument of control and surveillance. Today, we restore it to its original purpose. The final vote was overwhelming. Only the remaining Corvani delegates and a handful of their allies opposed the compact. Even they seemed to understand that the old system was finished forever. As the assembly concluded, Rebecca found herself standing beside the observation windows looking out at the fleet movements around Haven Prime. Human ships moved alongside vessels from dozens of other species, their crews working together on joint missions that would have been impossible under the Council's territorial restrictions. Commander Taylor joined her at the window. "Hard to believe it's only been 3 months," she said. "The galaxy feels completely different." "Because it is different," Rebecca replied. "For the first time in millions of years, species can develop without fear. They can cooperate without permission. They can explore without restriction." A communication alert interrupted their conversation. Captain Rodriguez, now commanding the integrated fleet protecting the new assembly, appeared on the holographic display. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Outer Rim territories. It's from a species we've never encountered before. Apparently they've been hiding from the Council for over 50,000 years. They want to know if it's safe to make contact. Rebecca smiled. It would take time for the galaxy to fully understand that the age of fear was over, but word was spreading quickly. Species that had hidden themselves to avoid council attention were beginning to emerge. Isolated civilizations were reaching out to explore cooperation opportunities. "Tell them they're welcome to join us," Rebecca said. "The galaxy has room for everyone now." 5 years later, Rebecca stood in the same observation lounge, but the view had changed dramatically. Haven Prime had been transformed from a symbol of rigid hierarchy into a bustling center of galactic cooperation. Ships from over 300 species moved through the system daily, carrying everything from trade goods to joint research teams to cultural exchange delegations. The human Lumari welcome fleet that had once been humanity's secret project now operated openly, greeting new species and helping them integrate into the galactic community. Dr. Wells had established the Universal Archaeological Institute, where researchers from every known civilization worked together to uncover the true history of galactic development. Most importantly, the fear that had once dominated interspecies relations had been replaced by genuine curiosity and cooperation. Young species were mentored rather than restricted. Advanced civilizations shared their knowledge rather than hoarding it. The galaxy had become what it was always meant to be, a community of diverse beings working together to explore the universe's infinite possibilities. Rebecca touched the communication panel beside the window. "Control, this is Admiral Stone. Any new contacts today?" 3 new species made contact in the past 24 hours, came the reply. "All requesting membership in the Compact. The A. Welcome fleets are handling integration protocols." Rebecca nodded with satisfaction. Humanity's greatest victory had not been military conquest or technological superiority. They had proven that cooperation and preparation could overcome any tyranny, and that sometimes the appearance of weakness was the strongest strategy of all. The silence that had once hidden humanity's true capabilities had been broken forever. In its place was something far more powerful. The sound of hundreds of species working together to build a galaxy where everyone could thrive without fear. Outside the window, the stars themselves seemed brighter, filled with the promise of infinite possibilities for exploration and discovery. The age of fear was over. The age of cooperation had begun.